Hey, what's going on? TSpeaksLive here, and welcome to the Celibacy Walk. This is week 22. I do want to express apologies. I didn't get on last week for week 21. The same things are still present, I guess, and occurred. I'm still feeling a little congested. You all pray for me if you would. I'm sick. The boys are sick. Well, I wouldn't say that I'm sick. Right now I have a little bit of a cough. It was in my chest before where it felt like it was a hole. Then it felt like literally that it was in my throat. And now it's definitely, I have a cough, a hard cough, and it's not always. And I was trying to let it run its course, but I don't know if it's going to. But anyway, listen guys, I want to just say welcome to the Celibacy Walk. This is week 22. We are still going. But just as the title says, I did lean, though I did not fall. This is a very challenging time for me because after meeting the one in which I fell in love with, and literally declaring that she is my wife and I'm going to marry her, celibacy is definitely harder because now there's someone physically and emotionally next to me. Emotionally inside, physically in front of me. So it's kind of like you can look, touch, and feel. And I'm like, wait a minute, this is not it. We can't go here. We have to maintain our ring. But I do want to say, I do thank God for having, even at this stage, a helpmate. Because when I leaned, and what I mean by leaning is, at times, I've gotten a little too frisky. My hands have explored a little too much. And I definitely had to pull back because I recognized one would have led to another, and then before you know it, I'm going to be so close to the prize, I don't want to fall. So I am maintaining my stance, and she literally, my wife-to-be, it lets me know and reminds me, she'll go like this and touch my face with her ring, or she'll give me a little flash like, remember what we're doing. And although I don't forget, I never forget. It's always before me to honor God with my body according to Romans 12:1. Both of us for that matter. And I am the Godhead, so I am leading us in that way. I do just about 99% of all the praying that we do. She's in agreement with me. I pray, I lead us, we read the word. We're definitely keeping God before us and all about us. But how many of you know that the flesh does rise up? The flesh does look for opportunities of when your defenses are down, which means if you're seated and you have your weapon down by your side, the enemy can come in and try to attack you. It takes you a moment to gather yourself, then to pick up your weapon and then to shoot. Well, it's the same way with this spiritual battle because I recognize my flesh does not want to lay down and stay down. It does not want to give in and say, you know what, you're celibate, let me go somewhere else. I'm not going to tempt you. I'm not going to keep crying out. I'm not going to try to get you to do what you've always done to where your testimony will be destroyed. So you'll have a wedding night and you'll already know what it is to have made love to your wife before she was officially a wife to man, according to the laws of the land, because in my heart, she's already my wife. So I did lean, which means I got a little too touchy-feely with my hands, and I literally have to back up and stand strong. Now, what that means is we have to do whatever's necessary to make sure not to give in. One of the things that I'm doing, as I said, is praying. I'm also making sure to go, you know what? Let me just remove myself from this. Let me just remember what it was that why we started this to begin with. Why I, in fact, started before we got together, and why it is so important for me to maintain it. So I remember why I started. Why am I going to continue to go forward? And these things are helping me in order to maintain my stance. Now, as I said before, even before I met her, I said, you know what, I didn't want to have a long journey of 3 and 4 and 5 years, not simply because I was going to be dying to have sex, but simply because I wanted to have what was mine, what was for me, what was created for me. I wanted to have who was created for me. And being that she's here and I found her, I found my good thing when I wasn't looking for her. Christ was and is enough. He chose when I would meet her. Now the task starts, getting to know one another, realizing that, okay, we're together, but there is still a blending of the hearts. There is still a meshing of the emotions. There is a who are you? And who am I? We've got to go through all of these things, and sometimes it's not so easy. And whereas most of us know, sex usually causes everything to be better. You can be in the middle of an argument and just decide, you know what, I'm going to get me some. All of a sudden, argument's over. You can't remember what you were arguing on. So when you literally go through that period of arguing or having a disagreement, and there is no way to diffuse that except to speak through it, I know that we're getting stronger. I know that we're coming together emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. I know that we are, without the confusion, without the fluff of sex. Now, she is something to behold. With my arms, when I hold her, when I look at her, I'm like, my God. Each and every time I look at her, I'm amazed. I'm amazed at who she is. I'm amazed at the fact that she was single, waiting for, as I told her, waiting for me. So I'm so blessed by her. And she said things like, oh, please, after a while, that probably wear off. After it's no longer brand new. And I said, no, actually, it's kind of like a fire that turns from a flame to a fire, and from a fire to a roaring blaze, and from a blaze to an inferno. You see, my love rises. It does not diminish. Every argument or when we have disagreements or confusion, at the result of it, conflict resolution, we get stronger. My desire is to get so strong to where literally I don't have to say much in terms of, oh, we need to do this. It's already understood. In other words, we're using a different language. We're using a language that's not audible by verbal expression according to man, but her spirit to my spirit. So if you guys can't tell and haven't been able to see or hear, I am truly in love with her, and I'm looking forward to making her my wife according to the laws of the land. And I say that because in my heart, when I introduce her, I tell anyone in a second, this is my wife. So I honor her as such, and that means honoring her body. I first honor my body according to God. I honor God with my body, but certainly hers. And I'm thankful and grateful that at the times when I got ready to lean, she does stand and say, wait a minute, excuse me. And sometimes without saying a word, she'll wave her ring in front of me. Now imagine if I had someone who wasn't in full agreement, what we would look like. I would get on here and it would be like this hand, no ring, and I would be saying, well, I'm going to try to start this now. But having tasted the fruit, it's oftentimes hard to put it back down. So I'm so glad that our wedding day, probably our wedding afternoon, probably 10 minutes after we say the prenuptials, the nuptials, we're going to consummate, which will be like, okay, it's that part is finished. But right now, we're still waiting and we're still holding strong. So you all continue to pray for me as I pray for you. This is TSpeaksLive. We're at the Celibacy Walk, week 22, and we're still moving. And listen, let me just say, for those that lean, and maybe you have times when you fell, get back up. God will honor your desire and your request to get his help to maintain your stance. Hardly anything is ever done the first time around. Every successful inventor failed so many times before they got it right that once. And as many times as I've failed at doing what I'm doing right now, I failed many times. Many times I said, even if I fail with the same person multiple times, that's what I consider failing many times. Because I'll say it, I'm not going to do this, and I dive back in. I'm not going to do this, and I walk back in. So you can't always get back up. You can start anew and start afresh and commit to it today. I'm going to be celibate today. I don't care if somebody just crawled out of your bed this morning. If you say that's the last time you're going to crawl out my bed, then make it the last time. In other words, what I'm saying is there's forgiveness and there's mercy for everyone under the sun. As long as the sky has not cracked and Christ has not come back yet, there is still time. You can get it right, family. Let's walk together in this celibacy. I'm TSpeaksLive, and this is the Celibacy Walk, week 22. See you soon.